Welcome to the Dazzle Coaches Training. I'm sure many of y'all have been a part of this contest before, or y'all got a team together right before we got shut down last year prior to the contest. And if you are new to this contest, we are glad to have you. If you have any questions following this training, please feel free to give me a call or send me an email. For the month of February, email will be the best. I will be out at the fairgrounds starting tomorrow until about the end of the month. So if you need anything related to this contest, please feel free to email me, or if you have my cell phone number, you can text me or call me on there as well. So as a quick reminder, all adult volunteers, coaches, and leaders must be registered on 4-H Online. If you are going to serve as the coach of your Dazzle team this year, I ask that you do get registered on 4-H Online. It just shows that you are a certified volunteer and that you've gone through the proper trainings of working with youth prior to working with them. And if you still need to sign up, you can go to that link right there, 4honline.com. If you've created a 4-H Online profile prior to this year, all you need to do is log in with your previous login information. It will look a little bit different because we have transitioned to a new site this year, but your login should still be the same. And if you have any problems registering, definitely give us a call here at the office and we can help you as best as we can. So to give you a brief idea of what the layout of this contest kind of looks like, it is a lot like our food challenge contest that we have, which the kids are given one startup item for this. And so it could be anything like a pair of jeans, a pillowcase, some scrubs that they then have to reconstruct into something else. So it is a team event. They need to have either or from 3 to 5 members. We ask that they try to stay within the same club or same school with the times of COVID right now, as well as within the same age division. So the teams each have 60 minutes to, like I said, reconstruct an item and clean up their contest area. They will have access to some resources at practices, but during the actual contest, they are only allowed to have that presentation worksheet. So using those resources that you see listed there, work with y'all's teams, help them to understand like the basics of sewing, different types of hand stitching you can do, and definitely the safety side of sewing. We don't want anything crazy to happen at the contest where either the kid gets a finger stuck in the sewing machine or something like that. For those of you who have junior teams, a lot of times those kids use either a hot glue gun or the E6000 that they're able to have in their sewing kit, which is perfectly okay. The judges aren't necessarily looking for a finished product. They're just looking that the kids have created something new and unique. They are marketing it correctly, and they followed the safety guidelines correctly. At the contest, they will have access to a closet. So like our food challenge contest, there's a grocery store. Here we have a closet, and it's just a bunch of additional items like fabric, ribbon, buttons that they can add to their item to make it new and unique. So as I mentioned, your teams need to stay within the same age division. So our juniors are 3rd through 5th grade, intermediates 6th through 8th, and seniors 9th through 12th. Also, like I said, if you can keep it within either your same 4-H club or same school, that would be greatly appreciated. Right now, just because of COVID, we're trying to limit the amount of different people that our kids are around at our different practices and contests. So as I mentioned, here's an easier list of the resources. All of these resources can be found on our county webpage, as well as the Texas 4-H Fashion and Interior Design webpage. If you happen to not be able to see any of these or you can't find them, please let me know. But like I said, they are all on both our county webpage as well as the state 4-H webpage. All of these, minus that presentation worksheet, cannot be used the day of contest. So I ask that you, again, work with your teams for them to get familiar with these items so they have something to add into their presentation the day of the contest. So the 3 categories that their items will need to fit into, and they will receive these categories day of with their startup item, is wearable. So obviously that is going to be anything that you would wear. It could be for either people or pets. A lot of times we have pet clothing that's made. So they could get something like a pillowcase and create a vest out of it or a dress. Whatever your startup item is, you don't want to make that item. So for example, if you do have a pillowcase and you're in the non-wearable category, you don't want to make a pillow with it. You need to try and come up with something new and unique that uses the startup item in a different way. So the second category is your accessory and jewelry. So this is going to be any article or sets of articles that can be used to add to an outfit. So that could be earrings, necklaces, a purse, headbands. I know a few years ago now, I guess, we had a few different scarves that were made that fall into this category as well. And then lastly, your non-wearables, which is any item that is not suitable for to be worn. A lot of times that is like either a cell phone patch, iPad cases, if you could create a stuffed animal out of it, dog clothes, anything like that. And again, the kids' day of the contest, and I ask that during practice you kind of help get them in this mindset. They'll receive what category their item should fall under. So like I said, if they receive a pillowcase and they're a non-wearable, they need to make something different than a pillow because that's what they're given. So like our food challenge contest, the kids are allowed a sewing kit, and each team can bring a box or a container with all of these items in it. You can only have one per item unless it specifies differently. And a team can choose to have all these listed ingredients, but they don't have to have all of them. Obviously, the more of these ingredients you have, the more options you have for creating their items with their startup item. So I would ask that you try to have as much of this as possible. Obviously, if you can't or you don't have access to all of these items, check with me. I know we have like a few sewing machines, or at least one sewing machine that is a Dazzle sewing machine. So if that's something you need, definitely reach out to us. And we might have some of this stuff hanging around in our Dazzle boxes as well. So I would suggest for this, if this is something that you think the kids are going to be interested in for a long time, look at getting a decent box, like a plastic box with wheels on it, and put all of this stuff in there, organize it real well so the kids know exactly where everything is that they're looking for. So for their preparation, like I said, they have 60 minutes to construct an item, plan a presentation, and clean up. So they'll receive that startup item, and then they have 60 minutes to come up with something new. A minimum of 50% of the visible final product must include the startup item. That doesn't necessarily mean that they have to use 50% of the startup item, but if they make, say, a scarf, 50% of that scarf needs to be the startup item. As I mentioned, they'll have access to those closet items, and they can go grab fabric, buttons, anything like that that they choose to add to their item. And as a reminder, the kids are judged during the preparation stage. They're being watched for teamwork, safety, make sure they come up with a game plan first, stuff like that. So as a quick reminder, because a lot of times teams struggle with this part of it, the cleanup portion of the present or of the prep time is included in that 60 minutes. So prior to 60 minutes being called, the kids need to make sure they have everything off their contest table and back in their box. The only items that don't have to go back in that box are any hot items. Those can remain on the table until they cool off. So that could be the kids' iron, hot glue gun, anything like that that could still be hot. Obviously, we don't want to toss it in the box and melt something while they're presenting. So for their presentation, all team members must participate in the presentation with at least 3 of them having speaking parts. I personally would have all 5. If you have 5 kids, 3 kids, I would have all of your teammates participate in the actual presentation by speaking, whether it's introducing the item, wrapping up the presentation, asking if there's any questions. I would try to have each kid have their own speaking part over the different parts that are in that presentation worksheet. So for judging, they have 5 minutes for presentation and then 3 minutes for any questions that the judges might have. And teams are allowed to use their note cards. Obviously, if the kids are able to not use their note cards, that'll be much better, but they won't be extremely penalized for using note cards. So here's what that scorecard looks like. So like I said, during the preparation stage, they're judged on their prep, making sure they came up with a sound idea, whether they, drew it out on their paper, kind of getting game plan in order, the different safety precautions that they took, teamwork, the use of their materials, and then different construction techniques that they used throughout the process. And then during the presentation, they are judged on who the item is intended for, so who they would market it to, what they would charge for an item if it was sold, say, in a boutique or Walmart or Target, the different characteristics of the fiber that is in their item. So if it's cotton, talking about where you can get cotton, what it's good for, stuff like that. The overall appearance of the item. Again, they're not looking for a finished product because obviously 60 minutes is not quite long enough to get a full item put together, but they want it to be as finished as possible with clean edges, not strings of glue everywhere. And then their presentation skills, which comes down to are they clear when they're speaking? Did they stumble? Did they use note cards? Any of that. So here are just some practice guidelines during this time of COVID-19. We do ask that you try to be as socially distanced as possible. Obviously, with this being a team contest, that's a little more difficult. That's why we ask that you stick with kids that are in your same grade, that go to the same school as you. Sanitize frequently touch spaces or surfaces before and after the team leaves. Face coverings do need to be worn at all times. Obviously, if your child or a team member has possible symptoms or they're not feeling well, we do ask that they do not come to practice, just to keep it safe for the other kids that are involved. And then COVID-19 screening forms must be completed for every single practice. And then eventually they need to make their way back to me. And practices must be approved prior to hosting them. So whenever you get it figured out with your team, please send me a practice schedule so I can get those submitted to my supervisor so he can approve them. We haven't had any major problems with getting stuff approved as of late, but the faster you get me those dates, the easier it is for me to get them approved in a timely manner. So I do have some very tentative dates for some different county practices. Some of these are kind of fast, others are a little later in March. But just I ask that you put these on your calendar with the chance that they might not happen just because we are in the middle of stock show season. And as I said, for this month, I'll be at San Angelo. And then depending on the needs for Houston and Austin, I might have to go there as well in March. So if y'all could, you can just take a picture of this QR code here, and that'll take you to a group me that I've created for Dust to Dazzle coaches and teams who are interested in this contest. I hope that weekly I can send some different startup items for y'all to use at practices if you're practicing on your own, as well as for those county practices, I'll send out what those starter items need to be so you bring them to practice with y'all. So here are just some different deadlines and dates for the Dust to Dazzle contest. As of right now, the registration deadline for our county contest is February 28th, and it will take place completely on the county webpage. You'll go fill in your information, and then you can put each of the kids' names in there that will be on your team. And our county contest is, again, tentatively for March 7th. Again, with stock shows, we might have to rearrange that date a little bit, but just keep that one on your calendar as of now. And then for those teams that move on from county to district, we're only able to take 2 juniors, 2 intermediates, and 2 senior teams. So if you make it from county to district, your registration for the district contest will take place on 4-H Online. It's $10 per team member. Registration for that will open up March 1st and close on March 15th. And then the district contest will take place on March 30th at the Bill Franklin Center in Coleman, Texas, which is typically where the contest is held. I know probably not all of y'all have been to the contest before, but it's a relatively easy building to find. So if you have any questions, like I said, you can go to our Dust Dazzle page on our county webpage. You can send me an email, or you can give us a call here at the office. Or, like I said, if you have my cell phone number, feel free to send me a text or give me a call over the next few weeks if you have any questions.